Good morning guys, I hope you're well. What an absolutely still, beautiful morning we've got here down at Buttermere in the Lake District. So, come to shoot a few iconic locations this morning. Just a nice relaxing morning of photography. And yeah, looks like perfect conditions for it. Blue sky day, but not a breath of wind on this pristine lake here. Absolutely beautiful. I'm also going to touch on a couple of things today. I'm talking about buying new gear and some things that maybe you should consider before pulling the trigger on your next camera purchase. Anyway guys, I'll see you at the first location. I suspect I'm probably not going to be alone because this location is quite a popular spot, but nevertheless, let's see what we can find. So guys, I've found this amazing piece of driftwood down here. Looks absolutely stunning. Don't expect it was put here by nature, but looks like it's been placed by somebody, but it wasn't placed by me, so I'm absolutely fine with that. But yeah, I'm shooting this with a wide angle lens. I'm about 16mm I think, and I'm angled down quite low, and the composition is fairly straightforward. I'm vertical, but it's tricky in terms of how you position everything to get some natural flow within the image. So I've tried to include some of the shoreline here. We've got some gravel just around the edge of the shoreline, and then we've got this driftwood which points towards the mountains there in the background, and I've tried to point the branches so they're not interfering with the reflection of the mountains there in the lake. We've got a lovely golden glow here from the rising sun, which is absolutely beautiful. It really is. So tranquil and calm this morning guys. I can't tell you how pristine this lake is. It's absolutely beautiful. There's just a little bit of mist coming off the top of the surface as well. It's truly stunning. And because I'm quite close to this log here, I'm doing two shots. So I'm taking one shot focused on the log and then another one focused on the background there. My mid-ground is just the lake, so some of that falls slightly out of focus. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to blend those two images together when we get back to Photoshop. Now frame this composition up a little bit wider than I would normally, because a couple of reasons. One, I want to get some of this shoreline in because I want to tie this edge of the frame into the mountains. I don't want it to just like feel like there's nothing there on the left-hand side. Otherwise it feels like an empty space. So I'm tying that in with a wide frame. I'm also going to be reducing the height of this a little bit as well, so my image is not too rectangular. I'm going to bring it down. It's probably not going to be a 4x5, but something, you know, along those kind of lines. So yeah, loving this first shot. Just been talking to a couple of guys down there that have been here shooting some astro. Said the Milky Way is right over the top of the mountains in the background there. So sounds like they've had a good evening, which is great as well. So yeah, I'm going to take this shot guys, and then we'll chat a little bit more. Things to consider when you're purchasing your new camera gear. Settings wise, f8 and half a second, ISO 160. Like I mentioned, two shots, one focus right here, 2-second timer, and the other on the mountains. Simple blend in Photoshop. Absolutely gorgeous. Well guys, I wasn't going to come to Buttermere without shooting the lone tree, was I? It's got to be done on such a beautiful morning. So I'm going to set the tripod up fairly high for this shot because I want to try and get the tree positioned nicely in that little V and make sure I can get all of the reflection in the water as well. Some amazing reflections as well. Just waiting for the sun to come up as well now. Absolutely beautiful. Framing wise, I've come back quite a bit for this shot because what I want to try and do is make sure I can separate the tree from the mountain. Put the tree on the left hand third, get plenty of the reflections in the water without eliminating any of those reflections in the shoreline in the foreground. So that's pretty straightforward. And what I've done, I've put that tree right in the V of those mountains, so it intersects that section and it all fits together really nicely. F11 focusing on the tree, 1/10 of a second, giving this shot a little bit of breathing space as well, just to make it feel a little bit more simplified, a little bit sort of minimalistic, and yeah, stunning stuff guys, really is. So good to be out here this morning. I'm going to take a shot now. 2-second timer is on. Absolutely beautiful guys. No need for focus stacking or anything like that at F11. I'm so far away from the tree that yeah, I can get everything sharp at F11, so that's absolutely fine. Focal length wise, I'm about, where are we? About 25 mil, something like that. So yeah, I think I've found coming back a bit further away from the tree allows you to bring those mountains in as well. Like the closer you get to it, obviously the wider you go, the backdrop recedes and diminishes in size. And I really want to make this quite a powerful image, really focusing on those amazing reflections. So yeah, so much to shoot in this wonderful photogenic location. Yeah, it really is stunning, Buttermere, absolutely beautiful. It's a bit later, I'm going to have a little wander around the northern shore there, take a look, see if we can get some of these wonderful reflections of the trees and stuff in the other side. Yeah, absolutely beautiful, really is. So I think what's prompted me to make this video is I was talking to a chap a few weeks ago and he was saying he was looking for some advice. He was thinking about upgrading his camera system from a 26 megapixel, and I asked why he was thinking about doing that. And his reply was, well, he was kind of future-proofing his photography because he was thinking maybe one day that he might sell prints in a gallery and wanted to print large. And my reply was, well, you know, galleries have been around for decades. You know, 10 years ago, photos weren't shot on a 50 megapixel camera, you know, and these photographs still looked absolutely amazing displayed big on a wall. And you know, and I was saying to him, you know, 26 megapixels is probably going to be fine, especially with, you know, things you can do in Photoshop now, such as super resolution and that type of thing. And my advice to him was to spend that money that he was thinking about upgrading his gear on reaching some destinations that he's not been to before, and perhaps that would improve his photography more. So for example, you could probably take a trip to Iceland or the Vero Islands for the similar sort of money that you would spend on a new camera and a new upgrade, and spending a week just shooting, maybe doing a workshop or something like that, would, you know, create a portfolio of images that, you know, you probably wouldn't be able to get with just a camera and it's sat on your shelf in your room, you know, waiting for that next trip to your local photographic spot, you know. So my advice would be, you know, to use that money to invest in experiencing, you know, the great outdoors, especially now when we're, you know, we're just coming out of these lockdown periods and things are opening up again and we've got that opportunity to venture out once more into the countryside. Personally, you know, that money, investing that money in something like an amazing trip, amazing photography trip, I think would be far more beneficial than taking an upgrade on megapixels. So that is my first piece of advice about upgrading camera gear. I've got a few more things I'll talk about a bit later on, but I want to get the most from this scene now, and we could just start to see little bits of light hitting the tops of the mountains. So that means the sun is well and truly up. So I'm going to continue to shoot this location for a few more minutes, and then we'll venture off round the other side and take a little look to see what we can find. Now, don't get me wrong, guys, you know, buying new camera gear is, you know, it's a fun experience. It really is, and I enjoy it myself, you know, it's great, isn't it? It's part of photography. I think it's just good to weigh up all your options and maybe give yourself a little bit of breathing time after you've perhaps considered picking up something new. Maybe sit on it for a week or two and weigh up your options. That's what I do. I find that really helps because sometimes, you know, buying something on a whim is not always the best option. Anyway, guys, this light and these reflections over here are absolutely amazing. So I think I'm going to stop here and take a shot looking back across the water here. It's so tranquil this morning. So guys, set up. My initial thoughts here were to do a panorama, but I've knocked that idea on the head, mainly because the light now is too harsh coming from the left hand side and the image looks somewhat washed out. So what I've decided to do is hone in on a detail shot. We've got a lovely white cottage on the eastern shore of Buttermere, which is a great focal point, I think, and on the right hand side there's this lovely copse of pines which lead down the mountainside and point straight towards that little white cottage, which compositionally works really well. Now, I'm not going to include any sky in this photograph whatsoever. It's really going to be on the mountainside and this beautiful side light that we've got hitting, and it's bringing out all the textures and contrasted little details out. Now, at the minute there is a little bit of a ripple on the water, but over the last 5 minutes or so that has dwindled somewhat, so I'm hopeful if I wait it out a little bit longer, it'll be like a mill pond again, hopefully. And that will allow us to get some amazing reflections here in this wonderful, wonderful location. So generally when I'm doing reflection shots, I tend to keep my horizon, or should I say my shoreline, in the middle of the frame. Not always, but quite often. And that offers simplicity quite often to an image. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm keeping that shoreline bang in the middle. And I'm putting the cottage just slightly to the left of the left-hand third, if you look at the grid on the back of the camera, and it just feels right to me. So just a case of waiting for that right moment. So back to the gear. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough one, isn't it? Quite often a camera body won't give you that much of an improvement, really, on what you probably had before. Things like a tripod, for example, it's something I'm in the process of considering at the minute, can give, you know, huge benefits. So I'm really looking to reduce the weight in my pack at the minute because my pack is quite heavy. Obviously I do a lot of hiking. My pack is heavy mainly because obviously I create these videos. So if I was just out shooting landscapes, I'd have one tripod, but because I'm doing these videos, I've got 2 tripods, I've got 2 cameras, I've got 4 lenses, the drone, you know, and all my food and waterproof gear for the day. So the pack gets incredibly heavy. So I'm looking over the next year or so to try to reduce the weight in my pack, which means I'm going to be able to go further, explore more places. So little bits like that can be, you know, have a huge benefit, and they're considerations that are, you know, probably more beneficial than megapixels in a camera. I think we see it quite often, don't we? Especially with YouTube. I know I watch a lot of YouTube myself, and we have you know, many different photographers, and they're always buying new gear and, you know, talking about it, and myself included in that. I talk a bit about gear on this channel, and there's a few reasons for that. Obviously, take a look at any of my videos. If my videos have got gear mentioned in the title, maybe I'm doing a video about the Fuji or something like that, but if I put landscape photography with a Fuji X-T3, for example, my video will get a lot more views than if I just said landscape photography in the Lake District. And that's because people are searching for, you know, cameras, and those videos will get recommended in the searches for people that have perhaps looked at those cameras in the past, and it will end up in their recommendations, and they'll be able to, you know, see the video. And generally, yeah, videos with gear associated with them will get a lot more views. I wish it wasn't that way, but it is, and that's why you find a lot of YouTubers using different cameras, buying new gear, because it generates views for their channels and puts their channels out to a broader audience and helps them get subscribers. So you quite often see big YouTube channels changing their gear a lot, but doesn't necessarily mean that we all have to do that. Anyway guys, I took a shot a bit further up, a more abstract shot, reflection shot, which I really liked, and I'll put that at the end. Thanks once again for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this morning, this wonderful location. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here and share this with you. If you think others might like this content, please be sure to share it. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Also consider subscribing if you haven't done so already. And also, if you fancy checking out my online photography club, please be sure to check out the links at the end and down in the description. Anyway guys, until next time, take care. I'll see you next week.